Thomas Green here with Ethical Marketing Service. On the podcast today, we have Will Kintish. Will, welcome.
Thank you, Thomas, for inviting me.
It is my pleasure. Would you like to take a moment and tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yes, I've actually been working now for 57 years, which probably makes me one of the older people on your podcasts. And what have I been doing those 57 years? Well, for 36 of them, I trained as, qualified as, and practiced as a chartered accountant. And then 21 years ago, an opportunity arose. I was able to leave accountancy, and all I've been doing, Thomas, for 20 years, well, until Mr. and Mrs. COVID appeared, showing people how to become effective and confident networkers, basically how to work a room. Unfortunately for me, most people would rather eat their left arm than go networking physically. They hate the thought of going to conferences, going to business events, etc. And it's been my job to help them overcome all their fears, concerns, anxieties, and be comfortable going to events. Well, of course, since March last year, things have rather changed, and we have been able to do that. So that awful word, pivot, I've had to pivot my business. And what I now do is show people how to network, but through the camera. My clever wife came up with this shortly after COVID appeared. She said, "Oh, you'll have to stop teaching people how to work a room, and now you're going to have to show them how to work a Zoom." And that's what I do.
I like that. That's good.
And that's me. I'm basically a one-trick pony. For those 20 odd years, that's all I've been doing. I've been doing a bit of presentation skills, and for 5 years, I showed people how to use LinkedIn. I was very clever. In 2010, I bought a website called linkedintraining.co.uk. I paid £10 for it. And I did training in that for the next 5 years. And then this guy came up to me and said, "Will, I'd love to own that URL." I said, "Well, make me an offer, Nigel." And he made me an offer, and he paid me for the next 5 years 12.5% of everything he earned. So that £10 investment was a pretty good investment, wasn't it?
Well,
And so if I get any inquiries about LinkedIn training, it goes to Nigel.
very good. It's a very good sought after domain, I would imagine. But I'm interested to know, to what degree did you use your networking skills when you were an accountant before you left accountancy? Or did you develop them then?
That's a great question. The irony is, Thomas, you, me, and everybody else, whether you know it or not, whether you like it or not, we all network from the age of 2 years old. Networking is just talking to people, just communicating, and it's just building relationships. So I did it. I've realized now, having studied it for many years, that unlike most people, I am a natural networker. It was as simple as that. I was networking in my own way. I don't know whether that word ever passed my lips. I used to go to events, and one of these people that I guess I'm a bit of an extrovert. I love meeting people. I love going to events, and I just did it. My accountancy firm got taken over in 1999 by a big national firm. And a year later, they said to me, "Will, you're not happy here, are you?" I said, "I'm not. How about we give you some money? Will you go away?" Because they knew for a hobby, I was training as a trainer with an organization I hope you've heard of called Dale Carnegie. He wrote a very famous book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. You heard of that book?
My business partner is a massive fan of How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Right. So I'd been a student in the late 70s, and in the late 80s, or the late 90s now, I said, "Are you ever looking for part-time trainers?" And they said, "We are. We remember you as a student." So they started to train me up as a trainer. So I did accountancy during the day, and once a week I was learning to train as a trainer with Dale Carnegie. So when my accountancy firm offered to buy out my clients, I was already tooled up and ready to go. So I hit the road running, and I set my business up. You think about the phrase, Thomas, how to win friends and influence people. That man, Dale Carnegie, 1936, published, in my opinion, the first book on networking. How to win friends and influence people. That's what it is. There was no mention of it at all, but that is the essence of what I talk about. No selling, just meeting people, building relationships. And some people don't like that word influence. If you use the word influence in a positive way and not a negative way, then I don't think there's anything wrong with it whatsoever.
So what would be an example of that, influencing someone in a positive way?
You do ask some great questions, don't you? It's very simple. I'll give you a Dale Carnegie quote, of which I've got many in my head. The most interesting people we meet are those who are most interested in us. And that is a way to influence people, getting people to like us. Every single relationship has got to have 3 key steps for it to be a meaningful relationship. Know, like, and trust. So, you and I are getting to know each other. And if any relationship is to go past a few moments, there has to be some rapport. You have to think, I quite like this person. Or put it another way, if we don't like people, and often we don't know why we don't like them, it might be a sixth sense. If we don't like people, we will do everything in our power to avoid them. We don't want to talk to them. We don't want to help them. But when those 3 steps are in place, that's how relationships are built. Simple as that.
So, I mean, if you've been exposed to lots of, or been training people networking, you must have seen a lot of the biggest mistakes regarding, or maybe even the biggest fears. What would you say the biggest mistakes and fears are regarding the topic of networking?
The biggest mistake, Thomas, is trying to sell. People do not understand the big difference between selling and networking. They go to a business event, they've got a pack of cards, and they feel as though unless they've given the cards out to everybody at the event, it's been a failed event. What a load of rubbish that is. The fears people have is fear of rejection and fear of the unknown. Those are the 2 major fears. Walking into that room thinking, I don't know anybody. Will anyone talk to me? That is the big fear. And here's 2 strong pieces of advice when we go back to physical networking. Get there early. Because when you get there early, you don't have to face that scary scene of people who are already in formatted groups. If you get there early, you're on the front foot. Right from the start, you are what I call in command and control of the situation. And then from that moment on, you don't worry about people coming to talk to you. You go and find them. There are 6 groups of people in a room. Every room you've ever been in and every room you're ever going to go into for the rest of your lives. And you'll see this the next time we go networking, Thomas, only ever 6 groups. 3 green groups and 3 red groups. The 3 green groups, the go groups, is the person standing on their own, couples standing in open format in a V shape, and trios standing in a croissant. Their body language is saying, come and join me. The red groups are the 3 closed groups. 2 people facing each other, the closed 2. 3 people in a group in a triangle, the closed 3. And the group of 4 or more, either 4 in a square or 5 or 6 or 7 in a circle. Their body language is saying, at this moment, we're very comfortable, thank you. Don't come and join us. And that helps my audiences over the years understand that they don't have to worry about fear of the unknown, because after they've listened to me, there is never an unknown again, because as I've said to you, every room is exactly the same.
It's a great point.
Those are the two. That I help them overcome the unknown by what I've just told you, and fear of rejection. I say to people, don't worry about it. You go up to somebody. If you go up to a 2 or a 3, you go up to them. You make sure you eye contact the 2 or the 3, smile and say, please, may I join you? Nobody's ever going to say, we don't like the look of you, mate, get lost. That is never going to happen.
Is there because it's a really profound point, and I don't think I've ever heard anyone talk about this. But is there a equivalent for online networking?
Well, of course, the people who fear work in the room, this is a godsend. They pray every night to Mr. and Mrs. COVID appearing, don't they? Because they don't have to work a room anymore. I guess the fear online is perhaps being in a group of people and not knowing when to talk or what to talk about. That is probably their big fear. Because the physical aspect, we're all sitting here in our workspace at home. So there's no fears about the physical aspect. It's now become the verbal aspect. So that's probably the only fear people have really got, saying the wrong thing.
Mm. Well, I think some of what you've touched upon, and you mentioned LinkedIn training, which was what I was going to talk to you about. Some of that has crossed over into LinkedIn, in the sense that there are a bunch of people on LinkedIn now just openly introducing themselves and then immediately trying to sell their product. Have you got what would you say to someone who was open to feedback around that particular point?
When I get invites from people, the biggest crime in LinkedIn, Thomas, is, and I bet like me, you get loads of them. Do you get invitations from strangers and you get that one-line invitation, can we link in? You don't know them, you don't like them, you don't trust them, you don't know who they are. It's like somebody walking up to you at a networking event and throwing a business card at you and walking off. That's what an unfriendly LinkedIn invitation is. So the first advice I'm giving is make sure you always send a personal note with the invitation, particularly if you don't know people or you've never met them before. And then, if you invite me to link in, you will get a very nice response from me. Dear Thomas, thank you so much for your kind invitation to network. And then I say, if you'd like to look around my contacts, if there's anybody you'd like me to introduce you to and the timing is right, then ask me. You see, the first principle of networking is, what can I do for you? How can I help you? Mm. And the other thing I want people to do is, and this is what I do with everybody who invites me or who I invite, I then send them my 28-page pocketbook on how to become an effective and confident networker. Because like you and I are in the same business. We are in the advice-giving business. And when we give away our advice for free, you're doing it on your podcast, through your YouTube channel, through your website. When you give away information for free, that, in my opinion, is the best form of marketing. So going back to your question about LinkedIn, all I would say is, don't be in a hurry to be selling them anything. Give away some information. And then maybe a little later, send them a bit more and say, look, I've been thinking, since we've been linked in, how do you feel about us having an old-fashioned phone call? Or how about us setting up what I call the virtual coffee? How about we have a Zoom meeting? You can't create need. And in today's world, the old-fashioned way of selling, well, it's old-fashioned, isn't it? Simple as that. Mm. So no selling on LinkedIn. Let's get the relationship built slowly first, and then have a conversation with people.
Great point. And I know we've touched upon what are the fears and the mistakes. What would you say the best networkers have in common? The best principles that you would think are worthwhile people modeling?
Very simple. Ask great, insightful, intelligent questions by showing genuine interest. And if you do spot an opportunity, for goodness sake, follow it up. And that's where so many people who go networking fail. They might spot an obvious opportunity, but they don't follow it up. Why don't they follow it up? It's back to the good old fear of rejection. Well, they're bound to say no. What am I going to say to them? I'm going to appear to be a salesperson. And my retort to that is simple. If you spot a potential opportunity, I want you to create an opportunity to share your knowledge, your experience, and your expertise with that prospect. Because at the end of the day, unless you're a con man or a con woman, unless you're a con man, you are going to charge them X amount of money for your services. But the value that prospect or potential client should get should be X times 5 or X times 10. So what are you doing? By following them up, you are doing them a favor. In fact, you're offering them a gift. So just follow up. So how do we ensure, though, that we don't pester people? I'm sure, like me, Thomas, you send proposals to people and then we get radio silence. We don't know why we get radio silence, and we never know. There could be 100 reasons why they haven't responded. But you mustn't let it go. You send a second follow-up. But when you get to the third one, you offer the escape route. So let's say I'm following you up. I'll say, Thomas, this is my third phone call, my third email, whatever it is, my third WhatsApp. Please give me guidance. If you'd rather I didn't follow you up anymore, please tell me, because I don't want to be pestering you, and I will take you out of my follow-up folder, and I wish you every success. Now, if you do that, nobody can accuse you of pestering because you've said, tell me to get lost. We don't like hearing no. Are you ready for this one? We don't like hearing no, but no is the second best answer after yes. It's the uncertainty in the middle that I hate. And that's been the issue in the last 12 months with COVID. There's been so much uncertainty about everything, about holidays, about family functions, about parties. Can we go to the party? Can we go on holiday? That's been the biggest issue for a lot of people, the uncertainty of things. And it's the same when it comes to networking and business development. For goodness sake, follow it up.
Do you advocate adding more value in the follow-up?
Always. Every time you try and do a sell, do a tell. Great question. Always. By the way, here's something about how to remember people's names. By the way, here's a YouTube. I mean, I've got loads and loads of YouTubes on my YouTube channel and my YouTube page. I have a video page I have a page on my website of videos. Yes, I always send them something. And you know something? If they take advantage of you, all I learn to do is shrug, move on, go on to the next one.
Yeah, I spoke to someone yesterday regarding the topic of podcasts, and his idea was that you should have a frequently asked questions page, but in podcast format. And in bringing this back to our conversation, if you did have, let's say, a follow-up sequence for someone, you could probably link objections that people might have in each follow-up. You think that would be a good idea?
I do, but every situation is different. I've just followed somebody up for the third time, and I've said to them, look, I'm not going to follow. It was a bit of a lukewarm one anyway. By the way, I vehemently do not believe in cold calling. Never, ever cold call. If I want to meet somebody new using LinkedIn, I will find my contact. So let's say you are connected to Jill, and I'd love an introduction to Jill. I won't go to Jill. I'll say, Thomas, I see you're connected to Jill. How well do you know her? Oh, she's been a client for years. She's my sister-in-law. She's something like that. How do you feel about introducing me to her? That's That's how I will always do my follow-ups or getting to meet new people, always.
A really interesting point, especially for this type of conversation, because if you're looking to have these types of engagements, it might be better to, as you say, get an introduction to someone rather than just openly. Let's say if I wanted to interview you, instead of me just coming right out and saying, oh, do you want to be on my podcast, I might go to one of your connections and say, will you introduce me to Will? And that might be a better prospect, if you like.
It has to be. And the other thing I say to people is, if you want some help, just ask. When people know you, like you, and trust you, and you ask them for help, I believe they will do their damnedest to help you. And you know why? Because they feel good. If you and I were close mates and I said, Thomas, I see you know somebody, can you introduce me? You will do your best to introduce me, but better than that, you'll feel good about it. You'll think, hey, I've done Will a favour and I've done my other mate a favour. So I'm always asking people for help, but I'm always helping other people as best I can. I actually have a template for helping people. So if you ask me for an introduction to somebody, I will give you my template that you have to fill in, because we have to craft that message that I'm sending to my mate from you in such a way that my mate will take your phone call. It's not just Thomas meet Jill, Jill meet Thomas. It'll go like this. Dear Jill, in the spirit of networking, can I introduce you to Thomas Green? He would like to speak to you about da 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 da. And unless you give me a red light, he will be calling you next Monday or Tuesday to introduce himself. I do hope you will take his call. However, if you don't want to, let me know. So I'm doing my damnedest to help you, pushing you through the door, but saying to Jill, however, if you don't want to hear from him, tell me. And then, of course, I'll come back to you and I'll say, sorry, she doesn't want to talk to you.
That's brilliant. I love it.
I'm a great believer. My mantra in life, Thomas, is talk more, type less.
Yeah, I do think picking up the phone is a much better way of doing it.
I mean, you think about it. How many phone calls do you get in a day? I bet, like me, you don't get many, do you? I mean, is that so?
Somehow I get a lot more suspected spam show up on my phone. So my phone's going from potential scammers, but I barely get any personal phone calls anymore at all.
I tell you this, I never, ever, ever answer the phone unless it's a number and a name against it. So if I've agreed to speak to somebody, I say, look, give me your number, and when you phone me, I'll know it's not a spam, so I'll take it. And if it is a number I don't know, and they do want to speak to me on a genuine basis, what will they do? They'll leave a message, and I'll phone them back. So I don't ever answer the phone, unless it's got a name against it, ever, ever, ever.
You mentioned your Dale Carnegie training. Would you mind sharing what are some of the main principles you learned from that training that you got?
I don't know whether you remember this, but I asked you, am I going to call you Tom or Thomas? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Here's a Dale Carnegie quote, which is so relevant. A person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. So going back to working a room, when you walk into a room and you go up to somebody and you introduce yourself and they introduce themselves, might not happen to you, Thomas, but it happens to 99% of the world. When the other person has given their name, they immediately forget it. No, they don't forget it. They're not listening. They don't hear it. And that is the key to the whole thing. They might not hear it because it's a noisy room. They might not catch it because it's an unusual name, a foreign sounding name. So my advice is, if you don't hear their name, even if you've been listening, say, I'm sorry, tell me again. And that way it's back to another Dale Carnegie quote about being genuinely interested in people. It's as simple as that. There's nothing hard about it. Show genuine interest in the other person and they will like you. This is all Dale Carnegie stuff. Ask questions that you know they might be interested in talking about. I use the analogy of a torch. Walk into that room or even walk into that Zoom with a torch and shine it on them. You are the sideshow. They are the main attraction. And this all comes out of the same book of How to Win Friends.
Can't remember whether this is from the book or it's like a commentary on the book. Maybe you can tell me. But it's everyone is walking around with a sign around their necks saying, "Make me feel important." Is that from the book?
I don't remember that. But that's what it is. We were talking about some mistakes people make. I need to share this with you. A few weeks ago, I did a presentation and a guy from America, and a guy linked in with me, said, "Will, I loved what you said. Can we have a one-to-one?" I said, "Delighted." The guy came on. We were on for about 35 minutes. And do you know what, Thomas? He didn't ask me one question. He didn't know what to ask me. And it was awful, absolutely awful. Now, I have a 4-question rule, particularly when I go physically networking. It goes like this. If I ask you a first question and you answer it, I then ask you the second one, third one. At the end of the third one, I'm beginning to think, hang on, this isn't a relationship building exercise. This has become an interview. And by the time I get to the fourth one, I think, this Thomas guy's not interested in me at all. He's rude. He's not shown any interest whatsoever in me. He only wants to talk about himself. And what I will do is, in the vernacular of networking, I will dump you. And even though you've been rude to me in a courteous and polite way, I'll say, "Well, Thomas, it's nice to have met you." And of course, it hasn't been nice to have met you, but I'll say it anyway. It's nice to have met you, and enjoy the rest of the event, which is a lot harder on Zoom because you can't just walk off on Zoom, can you? So you have to find other tactics. And sometimes I have to say, "Well, look, it's nice to have met you. I'm getting a signal from my wife that she needs to go out now," something like that. But again, how rude.
The reason I was smiling was I could just imagine someone sort of snipping out that part of our interview and not giving any context for it. I just thought it was funny. But one of your skills on the website is negotiation. How much has your online networking learnings and principles helped you with negotiation?
Well, first of all, it's negotiation on the website. It's done by my very close friend who you must interview at some stage, called Derek Arden. He does negotiation like I do networking. He is a retired Barclays bank manager, written books on negotiation. And when you're ready, Thomas, let me introduce you to him, because I think he'd love to be interviewed. But let me give you a couple of things he's taught me. If you're going to quote, and you know you're going to have a phone call about quoting, write down 3 numbers. Write down the lovely amount that you'd like to earn. Say it's £3,000. Write down what you're happy to accept, which is £2,000, and write down your walkaway price, which is £1,000. And make sure that you prepare yourself and have things ready in advance, so that when they say, "Well, so how much is that going to cost?" you don't have to start thinking about it. And the other thing he's taught me as a headline is learn the word normal. Well, my normal fee for that, Thomas, is, and then shut up. And I learned something else last night. I'm a lifelong learner. I'm a daily lifelong learner. If we speakers are asked to speak for nothing, and we very often are, you say to the person who says, oh, well, I haven't got much of a budget, or I haven't got a budget, but it's really good for your marketing. You say to them, look, I don't need to practice. I will be charging you a fee. However, it needn't be in money. Would you like to propose what you can give to me in exchange for my knowledge, my experience, and my expertise? And it might be a testimonial. It might be a video interview that goes on my site. It might be a LinkedIn testimonial that is shown to the world. So that is, again, part of negotiation where you're not going to get paid your full fee. So that's my little snippets of negotiation, but I'm not the man to be asking. Derek's the man to be asking.
Have you used that at all? And if so, what did you get in exchange?
When I do it for a cheaper fee than what I normally want, particularly if I'm working for a bigger organization, I want a recommendation to other departments in a bigger company, or other divisions, or other subsidiaries of other companies, where they perhaps know that they do have a budget. So yes, I ask. You've heard the phrase, if you don't ask, you don't get. Well, there's a better one than that. If you don't ask the question, you don't give the other person an opportunity to say yes. And again, just ask. I'm going to mention another friend of mine called Andy Lapata. You want to get him on your shows as well. LOP88. He's written the most wonderful book. It only got published in December, and the book is called Just Ask. Fabulous book. And again, it's about you're being. Oh, I'm having a senior moment. First senior moment of the day. I'm doing quite well today, Thomas. Have lots of them. When you get to my age, you're entitled to have senior moments.
What's my excuse for that then?
Moving on. The asking for help is a strength and not a weakness, and that's the essence of the book. And again, it goes back to when people have got a lot of time for you and you ask them for help, they will do everything they can to help you. So why put yourself in a difficult position? Just ask somebody to help you. Particularly in the last 12 months that we've been through, there can never be a better time to ask for help.
So if I'm watching this and I listen to this advice by Will, I'm like, that's such great advice. I really want to go and do this. How do I get started with online networking?
I've not said this yet. The best advice I can give is to go back to your old contacts. Go back through your old prospects that haven't done business with you. Go back through your old invoices where you've done work for people before and you've not done work for them for the last 2 or 3 years. Go back through your level 1 contacts on LinkedIn and think, oh, I've not been in touch with so-and-so for some time. Get back in touch with the people who know you. Don't start a brand new relationship with a blank piece of paper. That is the strongest advice I can give everybody, Thomas. Just phone them up and say, hey, I'm a bit embarrassed. We've not been in touch for some time. I'm just phoning to see how the year started for you. By the way, you asked me a question at the beginning, probably offline, and I'd like you perhaps not to use it again. The question was, how's business? Think about that question. How's business? How's business this week, Thomas? Is fantastic. I've just been booked for about 5 jobs. Ask me 4 weeks ago, I'd have said business is terrible. So questions like, how's the year started for you is perhaps a better way of asking. Or how's, when we get to the middle of the year, how's the year gone for you? When we get to October, how's the year gone for you so far? So asking what I call a trend question rather than an immediate question, how's business today? If you don't mind me suggesting it, is perhaps a better way of asking how's business.
No, you're fine. It reminds me of, have you ever heard of Jay Abraham before?
Oh, absolutely.
Jay Abraham is a principle that he advocates, which is that there are things that we do every single day and we don't give much thought to. And one of the example he uses is voicemail, because you've touched upon that. So we're leaving voicemails every day. And if we just made those just slightly better, because of the fact that we're doing them all the time, it's, as you mentioned, it's exponentially better over time if you just tweak a few things. So your recommendation made me think of that. If I just asked a slightly different question, I might well get better responses. So more than happy to get the recommendation.
I mean, when it comes to following up, if I know people reasonably well, what I'm starting to do, and I'm embarrassed to tell you this, I don't know whether you know this, if you use your LinkedIn app, you can't do it on your computer. If you use your LinkedIn app, you can send a verbal message rather than a typed message. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, but I do know there's one thing which is similar, which is you can add the pronunciation of your name, for example, to your profile. So you can record how your name is pronounced, and it's sort of similar, just because it helps getting your profile found. So even if you've got a perfectly normal name like Thomas Green, which is as vanilla as you get, it helps getting your profile found. It's slightly related, but go on. I took us on a bit of a tangent.
No, that's good. I tell you, but following up, if you've got their mobile number, and 99% of the world now is on WhatsApp, send them a video, a WhatsApp video. Thomas, hi, it's Will Kintish. Hi, it's Will Kintish here. How are you getting on today? I've been chasing you now for the last few weeks. Do me a favor, Thomas. Are we going to do business or not? I really don't want to pest you anymore. Just send me a text back or give me a ring back and let me know whether we're going to move forward or not. That blows their mind. You're there in front of them. Talk more, type less.
That's great advice. I love it. And I think probably the only reason people don't do it, I would imagine, is just, would you say, laziness?
No, that's one. But fear of rejection. I mean, it was our granddaughter's birthday. I've got 7 grandchildren, by the way. 3 of them are there and the rest are all back there. And it's Libby's birthday today. So what did we do? They all live in London, my family. We can't see them under normal circumstances. We'd have gone to London the weekend, had a party. So we got on the Zoom. We got on the WhatsApp, and we did a message for her. She loves me going like that and doing funny faces. So I did that on there. But better than sending a text, isn't it? And even better than an ordinary phone call. Let them see you. Let them hear you. In fact, I like that one. I've just come up with that one. Let them see you, let them hear you. That's good, isn't it? Let them see you, let them hear you. I found a new channel, Thomas, for communication, Doodle. Do you know about Doodle?
Don't think so, no.
Have a look. They've given some amazing offers away. You know, when you see people who are writing very quickly, and they doodle. It's basically a bit of software. It's really good. I'm going to start using that. In fact, you gave me an idea at the beginning. You said something that made me think, oh, I'm going to do some more. And it becomes an MP4 video because it's movement, of course. So you can do all sorts with it. Try and be different. I've given you a load of Dale Carnegie quotes today. Here's one of my own. For the smaller business, strategy for survival is visibility. So when you invited me to podcast, I was there in a flash, wasn't I? Probably about 12 nanoseconds after you wrote to me, Will, would you like to do a podcast? Of course I would. Why not?
Well, I think you've added a lot of value today. Can I ask you what your business goals are?
I'm 73 years old, Thomas. Every year I had to pay a salute to my retirement, and I'm never going to retire. My business goal this year is, forget last year, of course, that was a washout. So for the last 3 years, my target has been to do 10% less than the year before. That's been my target as a sort of ease down to retirement. I'm delighted to tell you, for the 2 years before COVID, I did 30% of that target. But I tell you what, I've had one failure in the 20 years and it's still failing. I have got the most amazing online networking skills learning program, and I just can't sell it. I don't know why. It's 30 3 to 4 minute videos, and now it includes an update of how to network online. It's absolutely fantastic. Whoever's seen it loves it. I just can't seem to get people to buy it. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm going to have to change the price. Maybe I'll give it away for a few weeks or something. And it's aimed at different industries. It's aimed at one for accountants, one for lawyers, one for universities, one for not-for-profit, and one for general, and so on. So I've aimed it at separate industries, and I'm still struggling. So that's, but then if you're asking me what's my target, I'd love to have more passive income. I mean, I don't mind standing up in front of this camera. Most of all, I love standing on the stage, doing live trading, but we can't at the moment. So live trading through the Zoom is the second best. But it would be lovely to hear the credit card click and people are learning to network through my e-learning, my online learning. That's my target.
Mm. And is there anything that you feel would be valuable to the listener that we haven't discussed today?
Well, have a look around my website. There is tons of free stuff there. The more, have I said this today? And again, I forget. The more you tell, the more you sell. I've given away a load of advice here today, and I'm always giving away advice. Better to show people what you can do than tell people. There's all aspects. If you go onto the video page of my website, Kintish, kintish.co.uk, there's about 10 videos there, all relating to networking. There's a humorous page, how not to network, seeing how rude people network. That's quite funny. No, I think I've shared everything. The two key messages I want to leave people with is be more proactive. Things have been very tough. If you're short of work, get on the phone, have virtual coffees with people, join online networking groups. If you join an online networking group, you'll see their name in front of you. Have a look them up on LinkedIn. If you think, wow, I'd love to have a cup of coffee with that person, send them a personal invitation on LinkedIn. Say, dear Thomas, we've just been in the same group together. Loved some of the things you said on there. Perhaps we can link in. When they accept your invitation, send them some information and then suggest you have a coffee with them. So in other words, you've come out of a group meeting with somebody and you've created that one-to-one with somebody. The only time you're ever going to do business, the only time you're ever going to do business is you facing the other person, or if it's a partnership, two people. That's the only time. You go networking to create a platform to do business later. You go networking to become visible and do some fishing. Fishing. Just find out about people. Find out what people's issues are. That's all. Mm. I've got an 8-step process. Because I work with clever, technical, academic people, they love a process. And it very quickly goes like this. I don't know whether you can see this.
Just about.
Can you see that there? That.
Yeah.
That's my 8-step process. You accept an invitation, step 1. You meet people, step 2. You start to build relationships, step 3. Step 4 is asking questions. If you've asked all the right questions, sometime you might spot whether they have a need for your services or you have a need for their services. Step 6. We've not talked about step 6 yet, Thomas. Step 6 is the crux. Step 6 is the aha moment. Every conversation should have an aha moment, a light bulb moment, when you learn something or you teach somebody something. So you said something at the beginning today that made me think, oh, I must do some doodle videos for my YouTube channel, because you tell me that you're using your YouTube channel a lot. I thought, I'm not using mine well enough. So if I spot an aha moment at an event and somebody says to me, you know what, Will, I've got a team of young lawyers who need to learn to network, I go, aha. But I have to stop myself selling. No selling. I'll say, why'd you say that, prospect? How many people have you got working there? And then I'll say, shall we exchange business cards? The most important thing about business cards is not you spraying yours all over the place, it's getting theirs. Get their business card and ask the most important question of the conversation. You know, a few minutes ago, prospect, you said you had a team of young lawyers who need to network better. You look them in the eye to make sure they're telling you the truth, and you say, how do you feel about me giving you a call later in the week and let's continue this conversation? And if you think it's worth it, we'll then meet up and you can tell me more and let's see how I can help you. So step 7 is the follow-up call and step 8 is the meeting. And it all starts with an invitation to a physical event, an invitation to a Zoom meeting, an invitation to a one-to-one virtual coffee. Because if if there's no invitation to be received or given, you can't do your networking. Simple as that.
Well, I thought briefly about what you said about your course, and there are lots of platforms where you can submit your course to that platform, and they have a load of existing users. And basically, instead of doing it, for example, on your site, it would be on a platform where there's loads of other courses about lots of different topics. And essentially, they would pay to take your course. And instead of sort of driving people to your site, making an effort to, get people there, you submit the course to a place where there's already a load of people already looking for that particular topic. So if you like, I'll send over a list of,
I think
maybe.
Yeah, list would be good. I think the standard one, of course, which is probably top of your list, is Udemy. Is that the main one?
That's one of them, yeah.
Yeah, they appear that I need to look at those again. I mean, I've got all my I've actually got them on a platform ready to sell. It's called Learn with Mobile. So in other words, my stuff can be viewed on a laptop, on a tablet, or on an iPhone. It's all friendly because it's all mobile. But yeah, that'd be really good, Thomas. Thank you. I'll have a look at those. And obviously, they take Udemy sometimes take a fair old percentage, don't they?
Yeah, they will take their fee.
But who cares? Listen, 50% of something as an ex-accountant is better than 100% of nothing. I've just got my calculator out and worked that out.
There you go. Well, thank you again. I think you've given some great information and also sort of given me some reminders that I should be doing some things. So reminders are often as good as new information. So I appreciate that.
Well, that's why whenever I start my talks, Thomas, I say one of three things is going to happen to you today. Number one, you're going to learn something. Number two, I'm going to remind you of things perhaps you've forgotten. Or number three, you're going to realize you've learned nothing at all and you're doing everything. And that in itself is great value because you realize you're a brilliant networker. So you should get something out of every time I talk.
There you go. Will Kintish, where is the best place for people to find you?
Well, find me on LinkedIn, but send me a personal invitation. Find me on kintish.co.uk or phone me up. Phone me up 07939 205 719. But you'd better warn me in advance. Otherwise, I'll think it's been a spam call. But you can phone me up and leave a message, and I will always call you back. The one thing, Thomas, we've not talked about is the new boy or the new girl on the block, and that's Clubhouse.
Mm.
You know about that?
I do, although I haven't received an invitation from anyone yet.
Oh, I wonder if I can invite you. They sort of send you random ones. I tell you what, if you're not careful, it becomes a bit of a drug. You can be on it 24/7. I'm chasing up somebody who I met on Clubhouse. I set my own Clubhouse club up the other day, and this lady appeared. She's head of business development of a law firm, absolutely my bullseye market. So the third party who introduced me, I've sent this woman a LinkedIn friendly invitation, but you know what, Thomas? She's not responded yet. But when she responds, that is my indication to phone her up and see if we can do business, because law firms is a big marketplace for me. So wow. Yeah, so that's where they can find me. You can find me on Clubhouse. If you're on Clubhouse, everybody, just go to the search button and come and join my club. The plan is every Friday at 1 o'clock, myself and Vicky Bentwood, we're going to have a club talking about all things networking. So
that
there
sounds
you go.
Good. And I'm sure there's a lot of value there. Thank you so much for your time again today.
Thank you.